All right, so now let's take a look at the actual guillotine that landed and look at the key differences between the two. So, okay. So, Keenan goes in the sub pedals now apparently. So he picked up a single. I have a deep bite. He tries to go to the waist, and now I have a deep bite on an arm and guillotine. Now, notice I was sitting straight down with my 2 feet really just in the middle, not doing anything, and he would just I would crunch his chin to his chest, and he'd be forced into a front roll. This time, I fall to my left hip, and I block his right leg with my left foot. This is super important. So I walk. You see here, I'm falling now all the way to my left hip, and you see my left foot use that ukewaza action to block his right foot. So now as we fall, we land perpendicular, okay? You see now there's a clear T being formed by our body, where my body is coming across his, and now my hips are very, very close to his versus before when there was a very big disconnect. So now it's easy to chase his hips, and next thing you know, I'm right there and I'm on top of him. Now there's a battle that's going on, which Keenan didn't know this was the battle. The battle to win is for Keenan's left knee to hit a key insertion point right down the middle of my butt, basically my butt crack, okay? Where if his knee can insert right where my tailbone is, he can bring his knee inside, and he has that knee in the inside position, and he can use that to create distance between our hips. All right. Keenan didn't know that battle was happening, and Keenan only tried to fight my hands. All right. My worry was that he would bring a knee inside, and that I wouldn't be able to finish the guillotine because I couldn't connect my hips. But that battle didn't exist for him. All he did was fight the hands, and he willingly brought his knee away from his chest. I didn't really do anything to clear that. You'll see Keenan, he brings his knee in, and then he just slides his knee down and away. And now, when I sink my hips down, now the guillotine's tight. And now it's just a matter of crunching his chin to his chest. And I have a strong connection to the hips, and it's tight there. Okay, so this is something that John used to make us do when we were coming up. He used to send us hours of tape, heel hooks, arm bars, kimuras, whatever we were trying to study. And he would send us, here's 5 clips of this move failing. Here's 5 clips of this move working. What's the difference? And it would be up to us to figure it out. This is very, very important. The reason why the first couple of guillotines failed was because I sat down linear, and when I threw him over my body, we landed with a big disconnect of the hips. The hips were nowhere close to each other, and we landed parallel. Whereas when I sat to my left hip and I fixed it with an ukewaza and I blocked his leg instead, we landed perpendicular, which made it incredibly easy for me to find his hips with mine and get my hips close and connected. So you see here, I walk, block, and now I'm headed right towards my left hip, and I blocked his foot. Now from here, as he goes over, instead of him going overhead and landing with his hips far out and away, my hips land very close to his, and instead of being parallel, spread across the mat, we're perpendicular instead. And now from here, I can step over, I win the battle of the inside knee, and he's just beat at this point, and the win comes from me, the tap in the finals. All right, so the final guillotine, again, let's go over real quick. So he shot a single. I used this to snap into an arm in. And he tried to go up to my waist, but that was just a silly thing to do. And he ended up just going in and fighting the hands. Now, I started walking towards him. I went 1, 2, 3. And then instead of falling straight down, I stepped outside of his foot and I blocked his right foot with my left, and I fell all the way to my left hip. So that as I came over, we didn't start here. I started here, and then as I went to come up and over, we ended up in a situation where we were parallel. So that now I can start to step over his body. Now, Keenan initially brought his left knee into his chest. So I stepped over, and I was just over the left knee. All right, there was still a battle here. It wasn't all the way in, but it wasn't all the way out. It was somewhere just to my tailbone. Where if he would have fought to get that knee back inside, now it was going to be a real problem for me to finish him. But he just extended it away from his own body, allowed me to sink down, and now I can easily drive my hips in, crunch his chin to his chest, and get strong finishes with a guillotine. Okay? So I'm arching my body, I'm pulling my left elbow up, my hands are nice and high, my hips come in, and I crunch the chin into the chest to get strong finishes. So the main difference was the angle that I fell to. I fell in this, put myself in a situation where he landed perpendicular, not parallel. In the previous moves, I all set, and the hips are a mile away. With the ukewaza, I set, and the hips land very close. So now it's just a step. The knee comes in. Now the knee comes out. And now the finish is there. So the ukewaza is what made the difference. I fell with my hips very close to his. So he came on a single. I was defending. I put a guillotine in. He came to the waist. He let go. Then I went 1, 2, 3. I went ukewaza. So a step, a blocker, and we fall perpendicular. And now I just step over. The knee was in slightly, but it slid out as my hips dropped. And now it's easy to lock my legs, crunch the chin to the chest, and get strong finishes for the win in the finals. Okay, so very important when you're studying tape to look at moves that work versus moves that fail. And it's your job to go back and diagnose why this one worked, why this one failed. Okay, that's how you practice your mechanics and start to really see what main mechanics make moves work versus make moves fail. You have to understand you can do 99% of a submission right and 1% wrong, and it's going to fail. Everything at the highest level has to be perfect in order to really know to submit someone, to break someone, and to actually get breakthroughs and finish the best guys in the world. All right, there's many guys who are greased. Everyone's explosive. Everybody's strong, and people are willing to take pops and breaks. Right? If you get submissions, leg locks, arm locks, strangles, you need to be able to break someone's arm, break someone's leg, and put someone unconscious if they're not willing to tap. Okay, so this kind of tape studying, where you go back and you look at different submissions and various ones that worked versus failed, will help you so much with being able to actually finish submissions on good high-level players.